It's the end of this FBI conspiracy case that's been going on for well over a year, nearly 2 years now, with the former mayor and former council member walking into the federal courthouse just a short time ago to change their not guilty pleas to guilty.
Against them.
Mr. Mayor, why did you change your plea to guilty? No comment. Why did you change your plea to guilty, Mr. Mayor?
Good afternoon, beautiful people, and happy Wednesday. So a major public corruption case has taken another dramatic turn. Former Jackson, Mississippi Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba has officially pleaded guilty in a federal public corruption case just days before he was scheduled to stand trial. He is no longer fighting the charges. That's a significant development because for months, Lumumba had maintained that he was innocent, and he repeatedly argued that this prosecution was politically motivated. It's always politically motivated. Every time any politician is caught doing something, it's just politics. So instead of taking the case before a jury, he entered a guilty plea, bringing one of Mississippi's biggest political corruption cases much closer to its conclusion. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Nellie Miranda. As always, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.
What led up to this investigation, which officials say started in 2023?
I won't comment on specifically how this case came about, but I will say that there are several different ways that we begin our investigations. One is based off of information that we receive or could receive from other law enforcement agencies.
Okay, so according to federal prosecutors, this case began as an FBI undercover operation. Investigators posed as real estate developers looking to move a downtown project through city government. Prosecutors allege that instead of simply evaluating the proposal on its merits, several public officials agreed to accept money in exchange for helping advance the project. The government says that those payments were disguised as campaign contributions or consulting fees, while investigators contend that they were actually bribes intended to influence official actions. Federal prosecutors allege that Lumumba accepted approximately $50,000 connected to the undercover operation.
Now, the scandal involves a scheme to get a downtown Jackson Convention Center hotel approved with out-of-state developers who in reality were undercover FBI agents. Investigators allege Hinds County DA Jody Owens was the ringleader here, orchestrating bribes to get the projects passed. Surveillance video showed Lumumba allegedly receiving tens of thousands of dollars in campaign donations as part of the scheme. Now, weeks ago, Owens filed a motion to dismiss himself, alleging entrapment and claiming the FBI agent lied. But there was one key point Owens and Lumumba appear to share, and that's what we uncovered. FBI agent Lawrence Correll. Now, documents show he was the case agent on the bribery scandal. Owens alleged that Correll lied to the grand jury, the same testimony that later led to indictments against Lumumba, Owens, and former Ward 6 Councilman Aaron Banks. Court documents show Correll said that Owens wasn't a target before July of 2023, but interview transcripts show that months earlier, Correll tried to pressure former JPD officer Torrance Mayfield to give up incriminating information on Owens by threatening to unseal an indictment against him. Now, this happened while Mayfield worked for the DA. The defense says this means Owens was a target months earlier.
So Lumumba wasn't the only official charged. The fraudsters worked as a team. Former Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens had already pleaded guilty. Former Jackson City Council President Aaron Banks also pleaded guilty. Now, with the former mayor joining them, 3 prominent public officials connected to the same investigation have admitted that they are guilty. I think that's a remarkable outcome in a corruption investigation involving the leadership of one of Mississippi's largest cities. But for taxpayers, stories like this raise obvious questions. People expect elected officials to make decisions based on what's best for their communities that they vow to serve, not based on who is willing to write the biggest check. Regardless of where you live in the country, the expectation is the same, that public office should never be for sale.
Guilty pleas entered into by the defendants in this case demonstrate a simple but fundamental principle
that no one is above the law.
Just days before the trial was scheduled to begin.
It was no surprise, when a person's guilty, they're not going to want to go further more into the situation or digging more into it.
Now that all three have pled guilty, they could face up to 5 years in prison, fines up to $250,000, and up to 3 years of supervised release.
They both held valuable licenses to practice law. Those are essentially immediately forfeit. So their career is lost. Their backup career is gone.
12 News asked what details could be shared about the negotiations and what's in the deals the defendants accepted.
It follows our typical internal process, so where we discuss plea offers, plea deals, and arrangements. Those processes are something we don't talk about.
Matt Steffi, a law professor at Mississippi Christian University, says there is no law that stops plea deals from being revealed. However, some are sealed. He says it would be hard to guess any reason for keeping these plea deals sealed.
But the main purpose of such a trial is to vindicate the injury to the victim. Here, the victim is everybody. Everybody who lives in, works in the city of Jackson. I mean, these are public officials charged with public corruption. The public's right to know and interest in finding out is profoundly strong.
The public also wants to know this information.
He was, in a position of power. So it's really owed to the public to actually know something that was inside the plea deal.
But before entering this guilty plea, Lumumba repeatedly argued that the case was politically motivated. Those who support Lumumba question whether federal investigators had unfairly targeted him and suggested that Black elected officials sometimes face disproportionate scrutiny. Okay, well, that's a valid concern. And if we all know that to be a concern, why would you ever put yourself in a position to be found guilty of fraud? It's like, yes, I know that I am more scrutinized. But instead of trying to keep my job and do good for my community, let me just find a way to get more money that I did not earn. I am by no means saying that the disproportionate scrutiny is fair, but life is not fair.
Mr. Mayor, why did you change your plea to guilty?
No comment.
Why did you change your plea to guilty, Mr. Mayor?
Lumumba admitting he joined in with at least two other people involved in the scheme to commit bribery, honest services wire fraud, and money laundering.
The mayor had a difficult decision to make, but we stand again. He had to bring some closure to this matter, and he decided to close it in this way. Today's proceedings mark the conclusion of one chapter in Mayor Lumumba's legal journey, but they do not end the larger national conversation about equal administration of justice.
Members of the National Conference of Black Lawyers, of which the former mayor is a member, say African-American public officials accused of corruption are often treated differently than their white counterparts.
It's very important that you look at the layers and levels, and the history of disparities, the history of double standards is important.
So, yesterday's guilty plea changes the legal landscape considerably because they are admitting to the court to the criminal charges. It also means that there will no longer be a public trial where jurors hear witnesses, review evidence, and decide guilt or innocence. Instead, the case now moves towards sentencing. One reason guilty pleas often occur before trial is because both prosecutors and defendants avoid the uncertainty of a juror verdict. Sometimes defendants receive consideration for accepting responsibility. However, every case is different, and the judge ultimately determines the sentence. One thing this plea also does is strengthen the government's overall corruption case. When multiple defendants plead guilty in the same exact investigation, it tends to reinforce prosecutors' claim about what they believe occurred. Again, sentencing has not happened yet, and that process will determine the legal consequences for Lumumba and his co-conspirators. But cases like these affect public confidence in government. Residents want to believe that decisions involving development, contracts, taxpayer dollars, and public projects are being made honestly and transparently. This story feeds into a broader national conversation about ethics, accountability, and the responsibility that comes with holding public office. Whether the official is a mayor, governor, member of Congress, or city council members, the public expects integrity. That is a standard that should apply equally to everyone, regardless of political party or ideology. But while I am glad that taxpayers are getting some sort of justice, Can we please go after the big dogs? Like the Ilhan Omars, Tim Walz, Gavin Newsoms, etc., where they have literally, allegedly stolen millions of taxpayer dollars one way or the other. That is what we want. But what are your thoughts? Do you think corruption cases involving elected officials are being prosecuted aggressively enough? And should penalties be much harsher when public officials abuse the trust placed in them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you got any value from today's video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. And ring the bell so you don't miss any future updates. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.